imagined they were there? Who could have predicted they would attack? And now, who would survive? Piranha, they're here.
No! You bitch! Stay back!
Piranha, they're hungry.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
What up?
This week, we're discussing the horror classic, Piranha, starring some people, some vaguely
Some people. That's an all-star. It's like the Love Boat, but in a lake.
That is true. So who did you recognize going into this?
First of all, Nikki from Young and the Restless. Bang!
Yeah, that's a deep pull. Good job. That took me a minute.
I was like, what? And then I kept
Yes.
looking for Victor Newman the rest of the time. I was like, no, that can't be her. She must have been on Young and the Restless then. I was like, oh no, that's her.
That slipped by me until I was doing like some research. I'm like, holy crap. And then I had to go back. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Young and
it's
fresh.
her.
Young and fresh. And Keenan Wynn. I mean,
Keenan Wynn. That's true.
Always a classic. And then Kevin McCarthy. And then there were some other randos, but really, that's it.
Now,
Nikki!
if you are under the age of 50 years old, you don't know who any of these actors are. Well, maybe if you watch Young and the Restless.
Still on Young and the Restless. So is Victor Newman.
Well, I believe I read this. I'm just going to paraphrase this, that Eric Braeden, Victor Newman himself, was originally supposed to play the lead role in Piranha. Just coincidentally. Just coincidentally.
Fan-fucking-tastic.
Good times.
Yeah. And then if they just had Blackie from General Hospital pop in.
Scorpio. I haven't watched. Good Lord. I haven't watched any. Okay. Again.
I haven't watched American soap operas in 30 years, I don't think.
When I was in college, there was a lot of you're between classes, chilling in the dorms, and that's what was on in the common areas. So, Days of Our Lives, All My Children, one of those shows.
Right.
So I have a working knowledge of some of these things.
It was like between 10 and 2. Every channel had 300 soap operas. Now I think there's like 4 soap operas. They've
all been
dead.
canceled. Because you cannot, in America, you can no longer be a housewife. We need 2 incomes to survive. It's like, you need to get up and get a job, honey. We can't pay the rent. So,
son of a biscuit.
One by one, there's Young and the Restless, Bold and the Beautiful. What's another one? I know there's one more that's is it General Hospital?
I don't think so.
Days of Our Lives. It's one of the big ones.
Shit. I know because some of most of the ones I watched are gone.
EastEnders is still around, I imagine.
Oh, I just watched it right before this. Phil's in prison, maybe going for life.
And what are they watching in Australia? Neighbours? Neighbours is still around.
Neighbours. Everybody needs good neighbors. Yeah.
Do you know any good Canadian soap operas? No.
Nah. Nah. We can talk Mexican novellas because
telenovelas. Absolutely.
I was trying to look for Italian telenovelas when I was taking Italian lessons. They're just dubbed South American and Mexican novellas.
Well, that's interesting.
They just dub them into 1,000 languages.
We're going deep. We're going
the pulse of all soap operas. No, but I used to watch General Hospital, Days of Our Lives. What was the one with Asa Buchanan?
I do not know. I remember Frisco and Felicia and Luke and Laura. They were the big love people on General Hospital. No, that's unrelated. That's Christopher Cross. Think of Laura is unrelated. The love theme of no, it is not. The love theme of General Hospital is "Baby, come to me. Let me put my arms around you. This was meant to be."
What?
That's when Luke and Laura got married. Yeah. That is James Ingram with
Patty
Austin. There you go. Anywho, let's get back into.
You're talking crazy. I'm looking that up. Think of Laura.
God damn it. Christopher Cross sang Think of Laura, and it was based upon a friend of a friend who was shot during a Michigan State football game. They won a game, and people were celebrating by shooting guns in the air, and she was hit by a stray bullet.
I swear to you that but it showed up. See, it says right here, General Hospital on Wikipedia.
What does it say?
One of the program's Super Colors, Luke and Laura, were quite popular, and the song came to be associated with the characters Luke and Love for Laura, who'd been missing and presumed dead for many months. Notes of the song became a reoccurring motif as the character Laura was mentioned and eventually returned. When interest in the song grew because of its promise of the show, it was released as a single.
That's a goddamn lie.
ABC did not ask for Cross's permission to use the song and never paid him for it.
I love that song, though. I do love that song.
Christopher Cross can kiss my ass.
I'm not a big fan of Sailing. Or If You Get Lost Between the Moon and New York City.
Arthur's theme. Although I do love Arthur. He was so darling.
Did you like Arthur 2 on the Rocks?
No.
No.
Once you start throwing numbers after the title, I've already lost interest.
See, he's poor in the second one, and it's like Liza's still hanging around doing her thing. Who's to say?
Is he still like a raging alcoholic? Also,
he now drinks Ripple out of a paper bag in the second one. So I don't know. It's a sad thing.
Than an adult man pissing himself. Ha ha ha!
That's hours of comedy. Shall we talk about Piranha?
I can't even remember what this movie. Are we discussing Arthur?
When had you ever even heard of this movie?
I know it's been on my radar from back in the day. I'm sure I saw it for previews. I saw that it was in 3D, so it was probably at the same time as Jaws 3D and all this shizball came out. But I have never seen it.
Well, this is an important distinction because the original Piranha came out in the late 70s and meant to be a ripoff of Jaws. And it's actually Spielberg's favorite ripoff of Jaws. So much so that Joe Dante, who was the director, became kind of a success. Like this became a springboard to kind of more mainstream type of things. Like The Howling, Gremlins, etc. The Burbs. He did all sorts of stuff.
I love how you threw in The Burbs because
The Burbs.
That was amazing comedy.
Now, the script, I don't know if you saw this, for Piranha, was written by John Sayles.
Wait, John Sayles from Come Back to Me, Jimmy?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yes, The Secret of Rowan Inish.
Yes.
Oh, I'm crying thinking about that. I need to watch that again. It's almost St. Patrick's Day.
Now, here's the thing. John Sayles is notorious for writing these kind of movies and then kind of taking that money and doing
a good
movie. So he wrote the screenplay for Piranha, for The Howling, for Alligator.
Oh,
see, you like The Secret of Rowan Inish. I just rattle off 3 classics. This is the real quality.
They don't compare The Secret of Rowan Inish, the cinematography, the story, everything about it is perfection. It's one of my most favorite movies.
Well, there you go. So give us your 30-second synopsis of Piranha.
Okay, I don't know if you know this, but there are actually fish called piranha, and they have sharp teeth. And for some reason, they're always like a fish at the Mexican market. That I always see them. I don't know. Are they good?
Like to eat?
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Not like for pets and like a plastic bag, like at the carnival, like in the display counter. They have a more Spanishy name. So
Piranha.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay. Hitchhikers come across a haunted research facility and decide to jump into a glowing tank full of radioactivity or what the fuck? I don't know. But they had to throw some nudity in there somehow because it wasn't going to be Kevin McCarthy. So, of course, nibble, 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 because the funny thing is something bites me, I get the fuck out of the water. There's going to be a lot of F-bombs here, Uncle Kevin.
That's 3 already in the first 5 minutes. So go ahead.
You're going to have to put the edit button down. So, so they get nibbled up, and then they hire some guy from the Dick Van Dyke Show to go hire some ripoff of Charlie's Angels to go find these missing teenagers. And by gum, if she just doesn't rent a Jeep and drive straight there. And within 5 minutes, solves the entire riddle. Comes up to like a fake Waylon Jennings, who's a crusty old man in a cabin, probably the Unabomber. We don't know. And they get over to the place and decide to release, accidentally on purpose, all the radioactive piranha because they want to drain the pond to see if it's full of dead teenagers. Well, you know what? It wasn't. But what they did,
there were some skeletons down there.
They said it was a dog's.
Oh.
So, what happened to the skeleton? We don't know. Because piranha, in real life, they don't eat bones. You know what? They eat meat. They're not over there cracking a drumstick. But anyway.
This is a long summary, by the way.
Let's not digress. All right. Piranha. They get flushed out. They want to eat everybody they can find, but they don't, and they kill them, and that's that.
But do they?
Now they're swimming on their way to Japan to fight Godzilla. I don't know. They got flushed like a toilet right out on their way to the ocean.
That's correct. That is correct. Now, I didn't mention this. I had heard of this many times, and I had heard of Piranha 2: The Spawning that came out in the 80s, which I have never seen. But I only saw this for the first time, I want to say within the last 15 years. I didn't see it as a young child. I was always just kind of like, oh, that's kind of interesting. It wasn't until later in life that I was able to really bask in the majesty of Piranha, if you will.
I will tell you, there were a few things that were pretty good in this movie. One of them is introduced and never spoken again. There's a whole thing of little Ray Harryhausen, little dinosaur people, and they're never referenced again. And what the hell? Because that could have been the best part. Better than the cardboard cutout piranha. It looked like one of those weird shadow puppets when you go camping.
Yes.
But what happened to those? I was like, ooh, I wrote down, ooh, Ray Harryhausen, little monsters. What's next? Are they going to ride on the back of the piranha?
Well, and that's the thing. There's no dialogue that discusses it even a little bit. It's just you see a little kind of critter crawling around. I guess it's supposed to be a mutant piranha on all fours. Or no, on two legs. It was like walking around.
It was like a slee stack.
It was a damn 6-inch slee stack. Very upsetting. No reference. We don't know. It's still out in the wild for all we know.
Well, we did see one in a tank that was still had like the fish head and like a weird little body. So obviously.
It was like a sea cucumber or something. I don't know what it was.
With a piranha head.
They only say piranha once, and I think it's Kevin McCarthy. I don't know where that came from. He just went rogue with that pronunciation. No one else calls them piranha.
When I was in the Amazon with the Yanomano, we would hunt the god piranha. They told us that's how you pronounce it.
I want to go right back to the beginning, because the first scene opens up with a couple hiking through the woods in the middle of the night. Do we know why they're hiking?
Day packs. That's not like they're overnight camping. It was like a day pack. There's no bedrolls. It's the middle of the night. We're in an incline. You're like, what?
Right. What are they doing? I mean, could they be homeless? I mean, anything's possible at this stage of the game.
Aye.
They break into this facility that has like a big old tank that you can't see. It's dark water in the middle of the night. And the chick's like, let's go skinny dipping in this thing. And the guy says, which I thought was brilliant and probably right, he's like, how do we know this isn't a sewage treatment plant?
100%. I wrote that down. I'm like, a bit of reason finally. But Once there's a naked person, all reason goes out of these men's heads.
Goes right out the window, man.
I'll swim in sewer for you, sweetie.
Right. And I gotta say, so they're in there swimming around, and immediately it's like, ooh, something bit me. And then they're just dead meat. Some people, they touch the water and are immediately like their limb turns to dust under the onslaught. Other people are swimming around for 20 minutes and they have a couple scratches. So I don't know how this works, what the logistics of it is. At one point, crazy old prospector Keenan Wynn is like, what is he? He's fishing on the end of the dock with his feet in the water.
Right. First bite.
And
let's pull it out. Let's pull your feet out of the effing water.
There are about 15 scenes where somebody's dangling some limb in the water. They get a bite and they're like, I can't pull my legs out. I have to wait.
Ow, 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 ow.
They find poor Keenan Wynn and his dead, lifeless eyes. I guess he crawled away from the pier.
How did he pull himself up with no legs? Like a quarter of a mile up to the cabin and then just perish. And his pants stayed up the whole time.
He rolled up his cuffs to reveal old bones, like bones from the knee down. As far as I know, you can pull your legs out of the water if there's a little nibble. Frankly, if the water's too cold, you can pull your leg out. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm pot committed. I got to just leave my legs in here and just roll the dice and see what happens.
I'm telling you, Kevin, this is why I don't trust lakes. First of all, if you touch the ground of a lake, it's slimy and gross. And 100%, I know one day I will step on a dead body. I don't like lakes.
Well, because there's something like the seaweed in a lake is creepier in my mind than the seaweed in an ocean. I don't know what it is.
Ocean is sandy. Lakes are slimy.
That is true. That is true. So, oh God. So like you said, there's the woman. I didn't take the time to find out anybody's names. She is a private investigator to find out what happened to the two hikers who were swimming through the sewage treatment plant that happened to have crazy piranha in it. Piranha.
I know it's not her, but she looks like the lesser angel after Farrah left.
I'm going to knock your socks off right now. I was going to save this. We have seen another movie that she had a starring role in. Do you know what it was?
I think I Googled her.
We've discussed it on this show.
I think I Googled it, but now it's gone. Remind me.
She was the daughter of the mad scientist in the hit, well, it wasn't a hit reptilian-based film starring Dirk Benedict.
The movie we had to watch on YouTube on some recording of a recording off an old black and white TV.
That's correct. Where Battlestar Galactica's Dirk Benedict is slowly turned into a snake man.
Oh, that was fantastic. That was fantastic.
Good times. I thought she looked familiar. So she's on the case and goes and meets another crazy old shut-in out in the woods, played by Bradford Dillman, who was in another movie that we've done on this show. Did you recognize him?
I didn't recognize him until I started looking him up, but now I can't remember that either. That was yesterday. I looked it up, and now it's all gone from my memory.
Well, he's the star of this movie ostensibly. He had a smaller role in a movie where people are also attacked by nature.
The Happening?
Swarm! He was in the Swarm!
That's right.
Killer Bees!
My God, the Swarm. Wasn't that 3 hours long? Sweet baby Jesus.
Sweet baby Jesus. So he is a crazy old wino that lives in the cabin, but I have to say, they were trying to tell us that he just does nothing but drink all day. He seemed like he was doing all right. He was like, even when he was supposed to be drunk, he was just like very eloquent and articulate. And he's like, I've been drinking all day with his Queen's English. It was very strange.
And it's very interesting that this wealthy alcoholic orders a bottle of different kinds of liquor. It's 3:00. I think I'll have a martini. It's 7:30. I'll have a Negroni. I mean, I don't have an extensive experience with alcoholics and alcoholism, but I thought it was like they kind of like stuck with one thing.
He likes to mix it up.
He does mix it up.
At one point, and I wrote this down, the lady detective is like, "Do you have a cigarette?" And he's like, "I quit smoking. It interfered with my drinking."
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's classic. And he didn't really sell it. It was kind of like under his breath. I'm like, you gotta sell that joke, baby.
Bring it on home. Clearly, our fake Merle Haggard is not a comedian.
Poor Merle Haggard. He's like, what? What did I do? I'm just a good old boy. Never meaning no harm.
No harm.
So she recruits his help for some. He's like, I'll help, I guess. His daughter, his estranged daughter, is attending the summer camp down the stream. Is that what's happening?
Why isn't Child Protective Services being called? If he's just drinks all day long, should he be in charge of a 7-year-old?
Well, it's weird because he talked about his wife left him, and that's why he started drinking and took. But I guess he still has custody of the daughter. She's the little blonde girl who won't go swimming at the summer camp that they keep cutting to for some bizarreness. I mean, and frankly, she seemed to be the smart one. Is at the end of the day, there were multiple people who died for seemingly no reason. Very, very sad situation. You talked earlier how they were investigating the piranha spawning factory and threw a lever which flushed all the piranha into the local river. And that's what caused the problem. There they meet Kevin McCarthy, who is the scientist who worked for the government. And the grand reveal is, do you remember what the plan was? Why they were growing crazy mutant piranha?
No, it didn't make any sense to me. Is this for the military?
For the military, and their plan was to raise these highly aggressive piranha that can live in cold water, can survive equally well in fresh and salt water, cultivate this, and then drop it off in the rivers and tributaries down in Saigon. Basically. So
Da Nang.
Da Nang.
We're still fighting Vietnam? Is that what's happening?
No, so the war ended. The war ended before they were able to implement their plan.
So 30 years later, Kevin McCarthy's still over there working on it?
This is like 1978. The war is not sweet Jesus. So they try to poison all the fish, all the piranha, and only the weak ones died. The strong ones survived, which of course made them kind of resistant to poison. They ate up all the dead ones and have just been multiplying like rabbits. So
let's be clear. They're in a swimming pool. So they're just surviving by eating their own?
Yes. That's exactly right. For 4 years, they've multiplied while also committing cannibalism, I guess. But when the hikers went for a midnight skinny dip, that kind of awakened their taste for human flesh. So there you go.
Long pork. So isn't this exactly like that crazy shark movie we watched?
Are you talking about Deep Blue Sea?
Deep Blue Sea. Not the Deep Blue Sea. Don't be confused, people. Deep Blue Sea.
It's exactly the same thing. Well, it's that, scientists doing things they shouldn't be doing with God's creations on Earth and turning them into crazy mutants.
We're all sliding into Sodom and Gomorrah.
That's right. So they are paddling downstream in a log raft like Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer. Why? Who in the hell? They decide they're not going to drive? Oh, because of the car. They got into a car accident. So we have to take the old... we have to take the log raft down the mighty Mississippi, I guess. Which is now, of course, teeming with piranha.
But let me pause you there for a minute,
please.
Fred. Because when we're back at the research lab, I did take some notes. She found an old backpack and it had one purple shirt in it. And she knew immediately, because there was a purple shirt, that it must be the missing hikers. I was like, is a wallet going to fall out? Is his name sewed in his underwear? No, this is clearly theirs. Cool your jets, young lady.
Every neighborhood had a kid who wore a purple shirt, could run real fast, and pick his navel. You know him, don't you? Continue. No, you're right. She's like Sherlock Holmes. She was basically like sniffing the air. Clearly this is his high karate cologne. So this must be our missing hikers. Anything else from the research Piranha station?
I don't understand why Kevin McCarthy is insane, because he comes running out trying to attack them without verbalizing, don't pull that lever, you're going to release man-eating fish into the lake. Instead, he just comes out like he's Magilla Gorilla.
Right.
Meanwhile, they keep hitting him with sticks because they're trying to stop him from, or
right. That whole scene makes absolutely no sense. So they're reaching for the lever. Some crazy guy's coming out, actively trying to stop you from pulling the lever. They fight him. They knock him unconscious, and then they go, F it, pull the lever. Now let's pull the lever. Pull the strings. It makes no sense.
Oh my God. That very Ed Wood classic.
So it makes no GD sense. So it's by then it's too late. And as this is going on, I'm like, what are they going to do about these damn piranha? Because now they're just out in the river, free, and poison does not affect them. But even if poison did affect them, would you just poison the groundwater
everywhere?
Right, exactly.
And so I gotta tell you, piranha live in the wild, and they live around people.
Oh, I understand. I see what you're saying. You mean they don't live in cities? Is that what you're saying?
I mean that there's people in the Amazon. The piranhas haven't eaten them all.
That is correct. These are super aggressive piranha. They're like swimming buzzsaws. So it's a sad. At one point, it
is kind of funny when they're attacking.
The sound they make is ridiculous, and it's clearly, you're right. It's like the submarine ride at Disneyland with a little crazy like rubber fish floating around getting at you. They make a point never to let you get too good a look for just that reason.
The special effects of the piranha are still better than the special effect from Jaws.
I guess that's probably true. I guess that's because Jaws looked a little rubbery and crazy, which is why they didn't show him that often.
Well, the piranha are in the water. There's lots of bubbles around. They're very active with their gnawing. Versus the shark is flopping up on the boat and like wiggling around. Jaws is effective mostly when you don't see the shark.
That is sad but true. I'm trying to think. It's like, as an actor myself back in, the salad days.
Tell us about it. Tell us all about it.
Well, no, I wonder, it's like, okay, you're an actor. They're like, hey, it's nighttime. Jump into that dark water and pretend a creature's getting at you. Wouldn't you not really be acting? Like, you'd really be like, can I get the hell out of this water now? Because I'm having bad thoughts that there is stuff swimming around by my feet.
Oh, you must be part of the actor's studio. Is that what we call method acting?
Could be. Who's to say? I mean, there are scary creatures in this dark water. Pretend. Or I wouldn't have to pretend that much, is all I'm saying.
True. But we're children of Jaws, so.
We're children of the corn, is what it is. So there's a guy in a canoe with his son, right? But the canoe, what was it? He was fishing with a net, and the net was stuck on a rock or something, so he had to dip his arm in the water. Another person who's like, I'm dipping my arm in the water, I feel a bite, and I guess the piranha are pulling me overboard? Is that what's happening? These things are 4 inches long.
I don't care how smart or angry they are, they're still 4 inches long.
They're 4 inches long. Ah! Billy! Ah! Luckily...
And they pull out a claw.
He pulled out an old stump. That was the end of Pappy. But then his son is hanging on the back of the canoe, and then they're like, oh no, that canoe is sinking. Why is the canoe sinking?
I'm just going to tell you straight, brother, because now we're about halfway into the movie. I had already lost so much interest at this point.
Oh no!
It was getting slow as slow can be. Hey, whenever I'm looking at Facebook instead of the movie we're supposed to review, that's a bad sign.
That is a sad situation. Well, and there's multiple scenes, like later at the summer camp, everybody's out like in inner tubes when the piranha attack. And there's long scenes of people just like thrashing around. It's like you can paddle to the shore. You know, it's one thing if Jaws is getting at you.
I did like that part because that reminded me of also Ed Wood with Bela Lugosi with the octopus arms rolling around in the kiddie pool. That was fantastic.
There were a lot of those scenes in this movie. There's also a subplot about a guy who is opening up, what is it, some kind of lakefront community or something? I don't know what the deal is.
Isn't that the mayor from Jaws?
No, it's Dick Miller. It's Dick Miller, who's been in 10,000, like basically every Joe Dante movie. He was the guy who sold the silver bullets to the dude in Howling. He was the guy who sold the guns to the Terminator in Terminator. He was in Gremlins. He was the guy who ran the snowplow. He's been in 10,000 things. He was in Little Shop of Horrors, the original, back in the 60s. Yeah. He's the hardest working man in show business.
Well, this is a Roger Corman film.
It is. This is New World Pictures, Roger Corman. You'd be shocked at how many people got their start with Roger Corman, including 100%. Like Francis Ford Coppola. I mean, all these dudes were getting, because they're like, he was basically like, I don't care, film what you want. Make sure there's more boobs in it, though. Which there are in this movie.
And budget. Making sure that there's a certain sexual exploitation on a budget.
That's it. And they did very well for themselves.
Absolutely. It was like a director internship. Right. Everybody worked for Corman back in the day.
They did. Absolutely they did. So there's the crazy like freak show at the end where it's like weird water sports. There's like people like scuba diving in the lake. There's like people dangerously water skiing in the lake, zipping by.
First of all, how many times do you see people scuba diving in a murky lake?
How about never? Or how about any lake? Even if it's
any effing lake.
Nobody's doing that.
They're like, what else can we do in a lake? Were they playing water polo? What else? Can we play badminton in a lake?
Right. Here's a guy with a rowboat. 2 feet away, there's a guy with a jet ski. It's like, it seems unsafe to have this many people crammed in there with the scuba. The beautiful scene.
And the piranha.
And the piranha. Well, the guy is scuba diving down at the bottom of, the 15-foot deep lake or whatever it is. He's way down there. And the piranha get him, and there's just, he's like spazzing out at the bottom. Flopping around. And of course, eventually his corpse floats to the surface just as the water skiers are going by. And then there's that fun kind of Keystone Cops moment where the skier notices shit's going down, but the people driving the boat are like, what's he talking about? Slow down? Speed up? What does he want me to do? Even the audience doesn't know. Who knows what his plan is?
Missy and Biffy were like, we're going to speed up because we haven't lost this guy yet.
Right.
Oh my God.
And then, of course, again, somehow the frickin' ski boat crashes into the fishing boat with a massive explosion. It was like, was the fishing boat loaded with TNT? I don't know what the situation is. It was a freak show. Full-blown freak show.
It was ridiculousness.
Yes. At one point,
one of the best part is when you're at. Can we skip to the resort where all the people are going on the little party pontoon?
Oh
boat?
yes.
And the shit's hitting the fan, so people are trying desperately to get out of the water. And there's like an admiral, a marine sergeant, who's like, "You get off the boat!" He's like pushing people away to get away from the boat, pushing him into the piranha. I was like, yay!
Yes. Well, because that's the reveal. They eventually, Crazy Mountain Man and Lady Detective call the authorities, but of course the authorities all know all about this place because this was part of their thing. So and of course there's like I said, the subplot with the resort community that's opening. Evidently, the admiral's also an investor in the resort community. So he's like, hey, let's not cause any problems. After kicking multiple people into the piranha's mouth, he, of course, clumsy oaf that he is, also just falls into the water. And that's the end of him. Sad situation.
Good. Yeah, that was cracking me up. He's like, you get off the boat. Like, people are screaming, trying to climb up. He's pushing them off into the piranha's mouth.
It was a sad situation. At one point,
it was fantastic.
The guy, Dick Miller, who's trying to open this community, is like, oh, everything's fine. His assistant comes up to him, taps him on the shoulder, and he's like, sir, he's like, what? The piranha. He's like, what about him? They're eating the guests, sir. There were
some funny lines. I like the news reporter. Terror, horror, death. Film at 11.
Sweet Jesus. In the gripping conclusion, Mountain Joe is like, I'm going to swim down into this under the sea building, which it's under, I don't know, it's
why is the water level like 20-30 feet higher than the actual room where you control the dam? Why is that a thing?
No explanation.
And the coffee cups are still there. Yes. Obviously, this was a flood. One would think things were knocked down.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and he is not even surprised. Like, damn, it's flooded the bottom 3 floors of the Chrysler building, evidently.
May I just say one thing, sir?
Please.
We're talking about the Merle Haggard Unabomber,
yes,
and a private detective.
Yes.
The military tells me they got things handled. I'm like, great. I'm going to go home. We have the skill set to figure this all out.
We got to handle it ourselves. Because I think they tried to arrest them, and she manages to free them from their tent because she flashes her boobs at the guard. And she said, what does she say? She says something to it was the most bizarre. I have to look this up. You bebop and scat. Let me see if I can find out what her crazy line is.
And then there was like the crazy British scream queen who was insinuating that she had like a passionate affair with Kevin McCarthy. Oh, we were much more than friends. It was so ridiculous.
That's right.
I had to look up the British scream queen.
Oh, yeah, she's serious. I can't find the line. It was some ridiculous. Well, but prior to her flashing the guard, she was like, what if he's gay? And he's like, well, then I'll distract him. Because he must be interested in Kenny Loggins of the Woods, basically. Clearly, one of us will get the job done.
Oh, my God.
So to defeat the piranha, he's going to swim down to the undersea kingdom to turn, some kind of a valve to release toxic waste into the river, because that could possibly finally kill the piranha.
But
he ties a rope around himself.
I'm sorry, didn't we already establish they tried to poison them, but it didn't work?
Yes. That is correct.
So they were going to just try adding a little bit more, the exact same shit that didn't kill them before, but in a giant water supply area.
Yes.
Okay.
It's going to be, yes, it's going to be 3 Mile Island after this. It's going to be the Love Canal. So his plan is, I'm going to tie this rope around myself. You count to 100 and then floor the boat and drag me out of the undersea kingdom. He's under the water for at least
out of my back. Yeah,
exactly. He's under the water for at least easy 10 minutes. An easy 10 minutes. Not to mention when she floors it, she drags him right through the toxic waste. So
through a closed window.
Yes.
Through the not just through glass, but through the actual iron separators of the old panes, through the toxic waste, going from 0 to full board on a ski boat.
Yeah, he'd be dead.
While he's being eaten by piranha.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, he'd be a waterlogged corpse at this stage of the game. Sad situation.
They're just chumming the waters at that point.
They are chumming the waters.
And yet, the rope is broken.
Yes.
How?
It snapped on his spine.
And yet, he is literally right behind the boat. So, what? Huh?
It makes no sense. It's a sad situation. Well, and that's the thing. They're basically like, because they zoom in on the evil female scientist, and she was kind of like, I don't know, maybe everything should be okay, looking at the camera in an evilish way for some reason. So who knows? We may all be killed by the rogue piranha. Who's to say?
Maybe that's situation. Why they're all at the market. They figure a couple at a time.
Do you have any other thoughts and feelings, or should we go behind the scenes?
Honestly, there was a missed opportunity with the little gremlins because I got totally perked up when I saw that. I was like, ooh, I love some Ray Harryhausen stop motion animation. Oh, we need to do the Golden Voyage of Sinbad now that I'm talking about that. One of my favorites. The
Golden Voyage has John Philip Law from Barbarella.
Barbarella Psychedela.
The evil villain is played by Tom Baker. You know him as the fourth Doctor Who. There you go.
What?
The female is Caroline Munro from the Hammer movies and from James Bond movies. So it's an all-star cast. What else do you need to know? The Golden Voyage of Sinbad.
And it has the Shiva coming to life. That's
Shiva comes to life.
That's all I care about.
Behind the scenes. We're all over the map.
Me. Was it just drinking and debauchery? Tell me it's true.
Non-stop drinking and debauch.
Was Keenan Wynn just streaking through the set?
As he's prone to do. Universal Studios attempted to sue New World Pictures for spoofing Jaws. However, Steven Spielberg saw the movie in advance and loved it. After that, Universal dropped the lawsuit.
I mean, for God's sakes. It's far enough away. I mean, that seems like just like a waste of money.
I agree. The Piranha were done by attaching rubber puppet fish to sticks.
Oh, for sure. For sure they did. Or,
like I said,
it was cardboard cutouts with light through it.
Dynamite.
Because there was two piranha. There was the one kind of piranha swimming in the water, which was always the exact same look, or it was nibbly piranha, which was like some rubber shit just banging off your face.
That's correct. They made a sequel a few years later called Piranha 2: The Spawning that was allegedly directed by a young James Cameron. So there you go. He does not own it though.
Womp.
Then there was a remake that came out a few years ago, and that movie had 2 sequels. So there are 3 for a grand total. There are 3 recent Piranha movies, adding it to the 2 from back in the day. They're up to 5 so far. The last one was called Piranha 3 Double D.
Is it like Star Wars?
Because
it's all boobs.
It is. Like, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, literally. Let's see.
Is there a Piranha NATO?
Not yet. Don't be giving away our good ideas. Let's see. Bradford Dillman, who played the title character, not the title character, the main character of Waylon Jennings, as we're going to call him, because I'm not going to bother to look him up. He was unhappy with the 2-dimensional quality of his character. So and he asked John Sayles, like, what the hell? Why is this character written so lousily? And John Sayles is like, well, usually the actors we get for these movies are not particularly good, so we don't bother trying to write 3-dimensional characters for them. It would be a waste of time. So he was more than happy to enhance the character's depth after that, though how much, who's to say?
Yeah, if that's adding depth, then I can't even wrap my mind around what the line was.
I know.
Man in cabin says hello.
That's right. What should I drink tonight? Vodka or rum?
What's
The extras
my
were all paid.
motivation?
Damn it. The extras were all paid $5 a day and given a box lunch. So there you go. Sounds like a good
Very
deal.
nice. I'd do it. I would love to be an extra in a schlocky horror movie. That's how I'll be discovered.
That's it. Heather Menzies, who played the female detective, was concerned that her husband may not approve of her nude scene, so they used a body double. So,
Man, that kind
which
of
is
money?
pretty clear. Well, just $5 in a box lunch. I don't know what you talking about. Let's see. I think that's all we need to know. The two-legged humanoid lizard creature skitters across the countertop without their noticing. It was an homage to Harryhausen.
Of course it
And
was.
originally, I think they said their plan was to have a giant version that appears in the film's climax, and they're just like, we can't afford this. What are we doing?
No, the little creatures are fantastic, and I wanted them to whisper in Kevin McCarthy's ear. But for sure, it was like we only have enough budget for 5 minutes.
There was a novelization to this movie that explains that the reason why Maggie, the private detective, becomes a private detective is that her boyfriend walked out on her and she hired a private detective to track him down. So she's a psychopath. And over the course of the investigation, she became so interested in becoming a private eye that by the end of it, she was more interested in the investigation than actually finding her ex-boyfriend.
We needed a backstory for that. We needed a backstory.
Peter Fonda was originally offered the role of Paul Grogan. Shockingly,
right after The Swarm.
Peter Fonda was not in The Swarm. That's Henry Fonda.
Oh, Lord.
Sweet Jesus. Anyway, Peter Fonda said F off. I think this is all we need to know. Shall we talk about the cast and crew?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, the crew, directed by Joe Dante. You know him from Inner Space, The Howling, Gremlins, and Small Soldiers.
I never saw Small Soldiers. Maybe I did.
It was all right.
And then he just stopped working at the end of the 80s? Is that basically
that was well into the 90s. What you talking about, Willis?
All right.
John
that
Sayles.
reference was definitely the 80s.
That's true. John Sayles wrote the screenplay. He wrote Lone Star. You know it, don't you?
No.
8 Men Out. The Brother from Another Planet. No. Men with Guns. You know all these.
I've heard of The Brother from Another Planet. And of course, you skipped The Secret of Rowan Inish, his masterpiece. Oh, and then he wrote one that was nominated for an Academy Award.
Look it up.
It's not Rumblefish, but it's something fish.
It's not. It's Killer Fish.
It is not a Killer Fish movie. Hang on. Say something clever.
Well, I'm just going to talk to you about the cast, if I might. Bradford Dillman played Paul Grogan, who is the crazy drunken mountain man. You know him from The Enforcer. He was in a couple Dirty Harry movies. Sudden Impact. Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Hey! And Compulsion.
Passion Fish.
I think
he
not
won
Rumblefish.
And City of Hope. So I think he won an Academy Award for Passion Fish in 92.
Heather Menzies Urich played Maggie McEwen. She was the female private detective. You know her from The Sound of Music. She was Louisa Von Trapp.
Hi, I'm the lonely goat herd.
Piranha. She was in the TV series of Logan's Run as Jessica. She was also Christina Stoner in
Woo!
And she was famously married to Robert Urich from Vegas fame.
I refer to him as Bob Urich, and that was Dead Tana.
Bobby Urich. Kevin McCarthy was Dr. Robert Hoke, the crazy scientist. You know him from Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the original.
Of course.
He was in, let's see, UHF.
Not to be confused with Senator Kevin McCarthy from Bakersfield, one of Trump's lackeys.
Not to be confused. Different guy. He was in the Weird Al Yankovic movie UHF. He was briefly in the 1978 Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And he was in Inner Space. Joe Dante, if he likes you, he will keep bringing you back. It's
like the Gilmore Girls. It's like Amy Sherman Palladino. I just saw all the same faces from Gilmore Girls just show up on Miss Maisel.
And Bunheads. Did you watch that one?
I love Bunheads.
I'm sure
it's
you do.
Lorelai from Gilmore Girls, but in a parallel universe. Like if she didn't get knocked up, this could have been her life. She became the Bunhead.
Keenan Wynn played Jack was his character's name. Jack, the old prospector. There are a lot of wild men of the forest in this movie, evidently. You know him as Colonel Bat Guano from Dr. Strangelove. He was in. It's a good one. Annie Get Your Gun. He was in Point Blank and Song of the Thin Man with Myrna Loy.
And
nicely done. Tyrone Power.
No, well, the good Thin Man were Myrna Loy and what's his name. You don't like old movies. You're a boo-boo head.
Dick Miller played Buck Gardner.
William Powell.
You know him. William Powell. Somebody like that. One of the Pows.
But not Tyrone Powers.
One of them. Who's to say? Dick Miller, we said, was in The Terminator. He was in The Burbs. He was in Gremlins. He was in The Howling. He's in everything.
Hardest working man in showbiz. But apparently not in Jaws, because I was for sure thought he was in Jaws.
Well, a lot of Roger Corman stuff and a lot of Joe Dante stuff. Melody Thomas Scott played Laura Dickinson. Most famously, you know her from The Young and the Restless. Nikki Reed. What's her character's name? Nikki Reed Newman from 1979 to 2022.
Still rolling.
She was also in The Fury, Piranha, and The Beguiled, which is another Clint Eastwood classic.
I'm Googling if Nikki is still with Victor.
She must be. Soap opera, if you go on IMDb, the soap opera characters are ridiculous because people have been married and divorced so many times. They literally have like 15 different surnames. Because happy marriages are not exciting to watch on a soap opera, is what we've learned.
That's true.
Shall we talk about the rating?
We should.
On Rotten Tomatoes, Piranha, the original 1978 classic, not to be confused with the 1995 movie starring William Catt. I guess there's another Piranha.
Does the greatest American hero get eaten by piranha?
Why not? Sadly, 69% fresh. But the audience gave it 42%.
Sure, but the fans hated it. But then why are they fans?
That's a sad situation. Let's take a look at the top critic, shall we? There's literally only one top critic, Nick Shager from Lessons of Darkness. I'm not familiar with his work. He says
like a national publication.
Yep. He says, of the late 70s, early 80s Jaws knockoffs, none balanced tongue-in-cheek humor with out-and-out gore as deftly as Joe Dante's Piranha. Original score, B+. So there you go. Good times. What is your rating for Piranha?
Honestly, I wasn't that excited with it. I love you. I love you. And we're just going to sing random songs from the 70s now.
That's great.
I'm going to give it 2 Piranha up the a-hole because it was boring as hell. It was boring. I got excited at the beginning with the little Ray Harryhausen going, ooh, what's happening here? And then it just got dull in the center. That's my complaint.
I don't entirely disagree. I enjoyed it a little more than you did. I thought when it was funny, I thought it was pretty damn funny. There are moments where you're just like, what the hell? It's definitely, and it's meant to be kind of a horror comedy, but it's not that funny. It just has and most of the funny moments are like, are you shitting me? Kind of that variety rather than, oh, what a funny joke.
Right.
I think I liked it a little more than you. I'm going to give it 3 butt-naked moonlight swims through the sewage treatment plant out of 5. I think that's where I'm going.
A late night swim with the Chud. Woo!
I mean, if you happen to see it, you can check it out. You're probably not missing out if you pass it by, though. Sad to say.
But if you have nothing else going on in your life, your children hate you, your wife left you, and you got nothing else to do, throw it on.
If you're Waylon Jennings in the woods with just you and a bottle of tequila, throw on Piranha.
I caught it on Tubi with just rando breaks that made no sense, and I don't know why all the ads on Tubi are in Spanish. Because I'm really missing out on buying that car insurance for a company I've never heard of. In an ad in Spanish.
Piranha.
Piranha.
So check that. So there you have it. Thank you very much. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcast TWDie. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Aaron, are you still doing Instagram? What's going on?
I've been lagging a little bit, but we are in fact on the Insta. In fact, our evil Podcast That Wouldn't Die on Instagram actually has more followers than my personal and the one that I hope was going to make me rich and famous Instagram account. Whoop whoop! We are the Podcast That Wouldn't Die on the Insta.
Make sure you have a lot of underscores between each word, okay? In case you're having difficulty finding it.
Always
extra
an umlaut.
umlauts. Absolutely. You can also email us. Email us. I don't know why I said it that way. Email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail. There's a never-ending avalanche of fan mail that just comes pouring in, day out.
And why wouldn't it?
Indeed. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, rate, review, share, spread the word. Will you not? For goodness sakes. Aaron, what's your personal, I was going to say your personal email, phone number, social security. Where do you, just tell us your social media.
I would just like our new followers all tend to be from Russia and want me to. I've won a free iPhone 13. That's what my DMs are full of. I don't know about you. My personal not my personal email. My personal Instagram is The Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. That's on the Insta, or you can email that account. Join the cult, won't you? I'm also on Insta as Don't Feed the Pigeon. Stay tuned. Join our mailing list for the Aaron and Kevin podcast convention coming soon to the arena near you.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be waiting for a while for that one. Sweet.
Maybe
Jesus.
we could do a Fangoria convention.
Well, maybe we can attend if that's what you're asking. I don't know if they're setting up a booth for us just yet. Next week, we'll be discussing the science fiction classic RoboCop, starring Peter Weller, Nancy Allen, Ronnie Cox, Miguel Ferrer. It's an all-star cast. Ray Wise is in this.
I do like Miguel Ferrer, but I don't really care for RoboCop, and I saw it at the theater when it came.
You are madness. You are madness.
I am very sensitive, and movies of that time were all very, very angry and violent.
That is true. You can watch it for free on Amazon Prime if you have a Prime membership. So check that out. Easy peasy.
Which is another $20. I think they raised it another $20 by the by.
It's worth it. If only to watch RoboCop, it is worth it. So, thank you very much, and be well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's the nicest thing that anyone's ever done for me. Later.